You're listening to Scan Stories, a bite-sized audio journey from GS1 Healthcare, where we bring you stories from those implementing GS1 standards around the world. I'm Mia, and this is Scan Stories. Today on Scan Stories, we're looking at a critical piece of healthcare you don't often hear about: clinical trials. Pharmaceutical and biotech companies run these trials to test new medicines, but making sure each dose is tracked safely and accurately is a big challenge. For years, there were no global standards. Each company had its own codes, its own tools, and its own way of doing things. It made collaboration difficult and mistakes more likely. That's where Creapharm made a significant impact. At the time, Creapharm was a well-established company specializing in clinical trial packaging, labeling, and logistics, bringing deep expertise to the table. They're now Myonex, but for the purposes of this story, we'll refer to them as Creapharm, the name they operated under at the time. By adopting GS1 standards, they transformed the way investigational drugs are tracked and managed, bringing more clarity, safety, and efficiency to the process. Here's how they did it. Let's start with the challenge. In clinical trials, tracking every unit of medicine is essential not just for quality, but to protect patients and meet strict regulations. But the supply chain was all over the place. Companies used their own internal codes and different systems, which meant supply chain partners had to constantly adapt to each setup. It caused delays, made collaboration harder, and increased the chance of errors. Creapharm saw the problem clearly. They knew there had to be a better way, one that would work for everyone involved. And that's where global standards came in. So, how did Creapharm tackle the challenge? Back in 2017, they joined the GS1 working group focused on clinical trials, collaborating with others to help develop a global standard for identifying and tracking investigational products, those still being tested in clinical research. 2 years later, the GS1 application standard for clinical trials was released. It recommended using the GS1 DataMatrix barcode to encode key information, such as the GS1 Global Trade Item Number, which uniquely identifies the product, the batch number and serial number, and the protocol ID, which connects the product to a specific clinical trial. Creapharm committed fully. They phased out their internal identifiers, updated their IT systems, and began printing GS1 DataMatrix barcodes on their packaging. This shift allowed everyone in the supply chain, pharmaceutical labs, biotech companies, clinical research organizations, and trial sites, to use the same standardized language. It brought a new level of interoperability and traceability to clinical trial logistics. As Nicolas Lerodulier from Myonex put it, what GS1 standards allow us to do is simplify processes. They ensure that our systems work seamlessly with our partners' systems, improving efficiency across the board. Putting GS1 standards into practice was no small task. Creapharm had to upgrade production systems, revalidate label templates with clients, and reconfigure the software used for packaging and distribution. But the effort paid off. With standardized barcodes now on every product, traceability became seamless. Each unit could be tracked accurately from manufacturing to the clinical trial site. Everyone involved, pharmaceutical labs, biotech companies, clinical research organizations, and interactive response technology providers who manage drug randomization and supply during trials, could finally work together more efficiently. The result? Fewer errors, faster processes, and a supply chain that's not only more connected but also safer and more reliable. By adopting GS1 standards, Creapharm dramatically improved traceability, reduced delays, and streamlined operations across the board. One of the biggest advantages? Well, they no longer needed to build custom IT solutions for each client. Using standardized identifiers saved both time and resources. Their success has become a reference in the clinical trial space, proving how global barcodes and shared data structures can bring clarity and consistency to even the most complex supply chains. Looking ahead, Creapharm, now Myonex, is working with clinical trial sponsors and system providers to scale these practices even further. That includes companies offering interactive response technology and randomization and trial supply management systems. These are tools used in clinical trials to manage things like which patients receive which treatments and how the right medicines are delivered to the right place at the right time. The goal is simple: help more partners speak the same language by using global standards, so clinical trials can run more safely, more efficiently, and with better outcomes for patients. This story is a powerful reminder that when healthcare speaks a common language, everybody wins. This great story from Creapharm, now Myonex, shows how using GS1 standards can truly transform clinical trial supply chains. By making traceability simpler and improving how partners work together, they've raised the bar for both efficiency and safety. I'm very happy to build on this story in an after-show conversation with Nicolas Leroux-Dulier, who authored the original case study available on gs1.org, the piece that inspired this episode of Scan Stories. That conversation is already live on our channel, so just look for the bonus episode featuring Nicolas. With him, I'll dive deeper into how this transformation came to life, what it means for the future of clinical trials, and how global standards are helping bring more trust and efficiency to the supply chain. Thanks for tuning in to Scan Stories, a podcast by GS1 Healthcare. If you found this story useful, subscribe and share it with a colleague or friend. Join us next time as we keep scanning for solutions that make a difference.